Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hello, this is Kelly Covert, and I am so excited that you decided to press play today, because if you did, this is the perfect episode for you today. I really believe that God works like that. So I'm really excited to have on the show with me today, Riane Milne, and we are talking about how to make the unconscious conscious. And I am not going to take credit for that because it's super cool. And that's something that Riana says during the interview. So you guys will definitely have to take a listen to dig into that. But you are going to love her. Let me tell you a little bit about Riane. Riane Milne is a certified global life, dating, and relationship coach, a #1 best-selling author, a life and dating coach for the new docuseries Radical Dating: Finding Lasting Love Over 40, an educational speaker, and a licensed mental health counselor and certified trauma and addictions professional. She specializes in those who have had past childhood, dating, or relationship trauma. And she also has created an app called My Relationship Coach, which offers many videos and articles. And she's written a couple of books. One is Love Beyond Your Dreams: Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. And the other is Live Beyond Your Dreams: From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success. And these both address life transitions, personal transformation, and relationships with yourself and others. You guys are really going to love this interview. We dig deep, and one of the really cool things that Riane shares with us is the top 10 childhood traumas that hold us back. And you may think when you hear that word trauma that, oh, well, I didn't have anything bad happen to me. And it's not necessarily like that. And she digs into that. So definitely stay tuned, and you will really be able to learn a lot from Riane. She is a super smarty pants and also deeply connected with her intuition. And to me, that's like the best combination. I want to let you guys know that if this episode resonates with you, I want to hear from you. Please connect with me over on Instagram. That's my most favorite place to be. I am at Kelly J. Covert, and I will link to this in the podcast app that you're using, so you can click right through and leave me a message or comment on a post, because it means so much from me to get to know you guys. I want to know you. Who's listening out there? Let me know what you're listening to. Let me know when you're listening to it. And let me know how it's changing your life. So let's get on with the interview with Riane Milne. Riane Milne, thank you so much for being on the In Her Voice podcast today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. And I think that we're going to have a really amazing conversation. And I wanted to kick things off by just giving you a moment to share with my listeners how you came to be who you are today.
Sure. Well, I've been a couples, singles, and family therapist for over 18 years. I started it in the Atlantic City, New Jersey area. Recently moved to Delray Beach in 2014. And as a therapist, I felt my clients could have been served better. So I went to get certified in life and relationship coaching at RCI. And I found that gave better service, more cutting edge, quality, transformational information, and developed a couple of programs around some research that I found was really necessary, not only to help my clients, but to help myself with something I was going through at the time. So I developed 2 programs, one for singles called Dating to Mating, and one for couples called Relationship Rescue.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so, take us back to 18 years ago when you first started this. What was it that called you to this profession?
Well, I always wanted to be a counselor since I was a teenager. I read both Teen Magazine and Psychology Today. So I knew that was going to be part of my plan. However, when I decided to be a coach, that was in 2009 and 10, I went to coaching training for 2.5 years to be certified in different areas. And I knew when I started to do the research for my 2 books, Live and Love Beyond Your Dreams, I knew something was going on in my own relationships that I had to get to the bottom of. And nobody teaches us how to have that emotionally healthy, evolved, and conscious relationship. Not in high school, not in college, not in my master's program in psychology. So, I did a lot of research that has gone into my books. And only in 2014 did I find the Kaiser Permanente group, research group out of San Diego, came out with the concept of childhood traumas and named about 20 of them. And when I get interviewed, I usually talk about the top 10 traumas. And this is what I specialize in today because I found this information greatly affected my life, all my clients, and research shows it affects 90% of Americans in our country and many people around the world.
So these childhood traumas, and I know you're going to share some of them with us in just a moment. What I hear you saying is they keep us stuck. And that we don't even recognize it. They keep us stuck. They keep us from success. They keep us from having loving and fulfilling relationships. And I think that it's amazing that, we can kind of even narrow it down, like you said, to like 10 or 20 things, and that most people have experienced that. And we might be going through our lives not even realizing that if we work through that, that's going to open us up to so much more potential.
It's totally true. There's something that's called childhood triggers that an adult brings unconsciously into their adult love relationships. And I know, like a lot of your listeners, my primary clients are successful businesswomen, really successful in business, knocks it out of the ballpark, and then they can't find love that's successful, or they've been through a series of marriages and they say, I keep attracting the same kind of person, just with a different face. What is it? I'm a good woman. I work hard. I'm a great mom. What is it that I can't get love right? So there's faulty coping mechanisms that occur that are used for survival as a child. And these happen again. They just become habits that as a child, they seem fine. It just seems like whatever mom and dad are presenting to you is normal until you become a teenager. And then you might start comparing yourself to so-and-so's family, and so-and-so's parents are nicer than mine. And you start to recognize something's a little off. But then in your adult love relationships, you can't understand, like, why in the beginning was this relationship so amazing, fun? The guy was fun, charming, romantic, sexy, confident, really great. And then 4 to 9 months in, research shows that these relationships start to fall apart. Or when there's something more serious, an engagement, living together, or a marriage. And then the person seems to totally change. So this information is why all of that dynamic is occurring.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Why do relationships matter? I mean, you just said it. The clients that you see, they're successful, like they're nailing their business life.
Right. And
yet they don't feel fulfilled. Why do relationships matter?
Well, love is the primary first human need in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, love and connection. Mm-hmm. So we all long for love. And yes, we can have love with our children. I'm very close to my 2 daughters, but there's nothing like the love of a partner. So, we all crave that in our life. And a lot of times a busy businesswoman says, I don't have time, or she really isn't consciously making time to make successful dating work. So, these are all things that I work with my coaching clients to find balance in life, to look at the goals that you have. I work with 2 different age groups, primarily the younger woman that definitely wants marriage and a family, and the woman, mid-40s and up that wants that partner for the rest of her life. but they get so swept up in business sometimes that they're actually not making quality time to date and find the right person. But it comes down to education. If you don't know what the emotionally healthy person looks like, again, we're not taught this, then your unconscious chemistry, this is when everyone says, oh, there's so much chemistry on there, watch out, because chemistry attracts you to your back childhood, quote unquote, normal, which is very highly dysfunctional sometimes. And the successful businesswoman often uses success in business to feed the ego that she did not get in accolades when she was growing up. So in other words, she may not have heard from mom and dad, you know, you're amazing, you're very intelligent, I know you can do whatever you dream to do. Now, from my research, this is how I raised my two daughters, and they're highly successful. But they had a very difficult father. So I became like mother, father. So their childhood wasn't easy. You know, we struggled a lot. There was times where I had to work 5 jobs to make sure my children had the life that I wanted them to have. But, you know, I knew the psychology behind raising successful children. I researched that. And then I researched the childhood trauma piece and knew how to work with my kids, because unfortunately, this goes through the generations. So as I talk about the 10 traumas, if you feel you have them, look at your mom and dad, because they usually experience childhood traumas, and then so did your grandparents. Mm-hmm. So it definitely goes through the generation. And if you're women who are raising kids and their father, or, you know, if you're a man listening, their mom is not emotionally healthy, and they're going through some of these traumas, again, it's going through the generation. So what it takes is a real education to make the unconscious conscious, to know what the emotional triggers are and how to deal with them, to make this go away and stop the pattern forever. And that's the great thing to know, that there is a way to heal from this. And once you have the information consciously, you know how to work with it the rest of your life. So the sooner you get the information, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, also for business women, this really helps you with your employees, because you can see if there's unhealthy patterns going on in some of your employees. If you know, you dig a little deeper, you know, these could be people suffering from some of these dynamics.
Yeah. So why don't you share the top 10 childhood traumas with us?
Okay. And this is where I say get some paper and pen, and it would be great if you could make 3 columns. The first column is if you recognize any of this in yourself. The second column would be if you recognize this in your partner or a past partner where the relationship went toxic and had a lot of cheap drama, we call it. And the third one would be, did your parents experience any of these 10 traumas? So again, these all occurred when you were very young and innocent. So you have to think back and have to be really honest with yourself to see if anything did occur. And the more you know, the more, if you know, someone can help you. That I'm a clinical trauma professional, so I put my clients through these questions, and then I know how to dig a little deeper and help them. So number one, was there any addiction in mom or dad? So addiction could be drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, cheating, gambling, spending, hoarding, eating, TV watching, video game playing, any of those types of things where that activity became paramount in their life. Number 2 would be verbal abuse. So were you the recipient of, or did you hear your parents fighting a lot verbally? So you could have received verbal put-downs, yelling at, screaming at, or even the silent treatment to punish you, or witness domestic verbal abuse. Third one, emotional abuse or neglect. Again, you could have witnessed this between your parents, or it could have come towards you. And neglect is an area where you feel fearful. Now, even from the researchers saying, us moms that had to work a lot and our kids had to come home to an empty house and stay there for maybe 2 to 3 hours to fend for themselves is part of the trauma. Not that we set out to traumatize our kids. We were working to support our children, but it is still a form of neglect. Next one is physical abuse, rape, or molestation, if you experience that either within or outside of the home. And that is severe trauma at any age, of course, but they're saying up to age 25, trauma affects the brain and the body, and trauma stays in the brain and body until you go through a program to learn how to change the emotional trigger response. So that's a big one. Next one is abandonment, fault or no fault. Now, no fault abandonment, some examples there is if a parent dies early, if they have to travel a lot due to work, or if they're a military parent and they have to go fight in a war and they actually have to leave the home. Those are no fault abandonments. A fault abandonment would be if there's a situation like a divorce, and let's say a father promises to see you every other weekend and then doesn't show up or shows up late and is constantly breaking their promises, so that there's no trust there in the opposite sex parent. So that's abandonment. The next one is if you had to be, if you were part of adoption or the foster care system, or you had to go live with other relatives or friends because mom or dad couldn't take care of you. Number 7 is a big one. That is personal trauma. So a lot of people were bullied when they were in school or didn't feel like they fit in. So the overweight child, even the skinny child with glasses, that was me. I was bullied. If you had a medical condition that you were born with or developed throughout the years that just made you feel different, not fitting in or not good enough. The next one is sibling trauma. So if your sibling was born with complications or developed them later in life and they got all the attention, or if your sibling bullied you. And the most common one is if your sibling was, quote, the golden child. They were perceived either by you or your parents to be more special than you. So more athletic, more beautiful, smarter, any kind of accolades where they seem to get a lot of the attention and you just didn't. The next one. Family trauma, and I combine that with community trauma. Now, community trauma actually was not one of their top 10s in the research, but I put it there because look how much we have endured since July of last year.
Oh my goodness.
We've had all these hurricanes, all the floods, all these people displaced from their homes, the fires in the California area, the mass murders. I was out this fall talking in Las Vegas about trauma, right after the mass murder there. So, this situation has really escalated, and it's certainly traumatic for adults to experience these things. But can you imagine the child's mind and being displaced and hearing about and watching these horrific things going on in our world? So that's a very big one. And other things that fall under family trauma is if a parent's incarcerated, if someone grew up with a lot of poverty or financial struggle, if there was a lot of moves, and our military families move every 4 years. So those children have to start over all over again, with all these frequent moves. So there's many listed under there, but that's just a sampling. And the last one is mental health issues in mom or dad, with the two most severe being borderline personality, which is inherited from their mom and dad. And I best describe that as you never know what you're going to get. One day they love you and one day they hate you. So when they're good, they're very, very good. And when they're bad, they're horrid. It's a very difficult personality type to live with. And it's fast trigger anger is another description of borderline. Bipolar is best described as manic, very happy at times, and then depressed, very depressed at times. They can't get out of bed. They're tired. They're cranky. They're angry. So anger can come out as a form of depression as well. So someone that grew up in a household where there was a lot of anxiety or depression tends to pick up those traits as well.
So as we listen to all of these, you can start to identify if your partner has had this, if your parents have had this, or if you have had this. And then you said something that I thought was really brilliant, in that the way we begin to heal is that we make the unconscious conscious.
That's correct.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, because when we're growing up, we don't know anything different. What mom and dad shows us, we just think is normal. So when I start this conversation, have you experienced childhood trauma? Most people think, something really severe, they're like, no, I really didn't have any trauma. I was spanked a few times. But then when they hear the 10 traumas, they're like, wow, I have, and I was working with a woman last night. She goes, I have 7 of these. And I first answered you, I had no traumas. So that's the first thing. People are shocked with what we considered everyday normal and how it affects us in our adult life and love relationships. So they all become very unconscious. Like I said, we use them as survival as a child. So let me use an example. Let's say a woman is dating a man and he's lying all the time. She can't figure it out. He lies about the littlest things that he doesn't have to lie about. So someone that grows up learning to lie as a survival tool, this could have been a little boy that says, oh my gosh, if I come home with an F on a test, I'm going to be beaten. I'm going to make that F an A. And if he gets away with it, he finds that lying works. It's a survival tool. Here's another example. Let's say mom or dad says your opinion's not important. We don't need to hear what you have to say. They barely give him compliments. This could be a little boy that goes into school and schmoozes his female teacher and gets all this love and attention and finds, wow, being, really kind and flirting with women works. To get the love I want. So this is often the man that could be a chronic cheater, that's very manipulative and seductive early on when you meet them. This is a man that moves really quick to have you fall in love with them. But then down the road, there's a lot of anger because he may have anger at his mom. In my book, I call them a mother hater. So in my first section of Love Beyond Your Dreams, it's called Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. I talk about the 19 personality types that could break your heart. So these are the ones you want to avoid. And then in the second part of the book, I talk about the personality types you want to learn to attract into your life. But it's really important that you become a successful single first before you start dating, that you get rid of any of the childhood patterns that you are bringing into the love relationships yourself. And, how do these present? One could be overworking. A lot of people that overwork, or we call it sometimes workaholism, is because we're looking for the accolades through our business when mom or dad didn't tell us, great job. Like I rarely heard compliments from my mom. And finally, after my book became a 5-star #1 bestseller on Amazon, she goes, wow, I'm really proud of you. It's like, well, geez, thanks, Mom. So I was always a hard worker. So were my siblings. We were always looking for some compliments. So a lot of successful business ladies have the same thing. And again, because we have learned to control our work environment, very often women unconsciously are controlling their partners. And this is when they lose them or there's a lot of fights that come out because we had to learn to control our environment to have a successful life for ourselves and in my situation for our kids as well. So I had to be mother, father. I had to make sure everything was done, arranged. I had to work hard, make sure I could support them because I wasn't receiving child support. I was one that was paying it. So, it's we learn to survive. And then when it comes to partnerships, we have to think differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is so fascinating to me because, what I hear you saying over and over is that the voice in our head that tells us you're not good enough, that most likely is coming from one of these childhood traumas.
It's coming from childhood trauma for sure.
Right? And so those are always the things that are going to be deep down holding us back. I mean, and what this podcast is about and what I love teaching people about is how to listen to their inner voice, their soul wisdom, right? That says, you are worthy, you are enough. Like the getting back to who we were before these things happened, like when we were first born, getting back to that sort of perfect place, if you will.
Yes. And we're all perfectly imperfect.
Right.
But it's not only mom and dad. It could be coaches, it could be teachers that gave us messages that we're stupid, we're not good enough, those kinds of things. And then they come out in different ways in love. For example, a woman that might be jealous has a lack of trust and self-confidence. So that could either be from trauma 7, not feeling good enough, she was bullied, or that father that was difficult to deal with or never gave her, a lot of love. He could have been very stern, authoritarian, didn't give her a lot of fuzzy warmth and love, or she couldn't trust him, because he showed to mom and dad if he was a chronic cheater. Well, you can't trust dad. And you might have heard those messages from mom yourself. So, these are all mostly unconscious, but a lot of people that suffer with this have more negative thoughts than positive going on in their self-talk in their head. Like 8 out of 10 comments to themselves tend to be on the negative side. Mm-hmm. We totally change that when we work together. Another way, a lot of women I work with are people pleasers. These are the ones that can't say no. They overdo for others, their partners or children, and then they're always shortchanging themselves. So inside they're feeling not appreciated, angry, and just like, well, why doesn't anybody do for me? So they have high expectations of everyone else because they do so much for everyone, and then they don't receive it back. So this is often a point of anger in relationships. Mm-hmm. So I work with couples too, and when I work with either married or exclusive couples, even gay and lesbian couples, we look at both childhood dynamics, see what come up for both of them. And then once each other understand these childhood wounds and how they play out, then they learn to communicate around them. And they don't take the things so personally. But a big part of this is like learning to deal with it, because you can't change what you don't understand, right? So we have to really get to a point of understanding why you do what you do. And then once we get that, and that's where I wear 3 hats: the psychotherapist and licensed mental health counselor, the clinical trauma professional, and then the certified life, dating, and relationship coach. So because the coaching takes you from where you are right now and propels you forward. But we only do that after we analyze the past and have you heal from all that and become totally consciously aware of when fears and negativity come up, where they're coming from and why.
Mm-hmm. What do you say to people who say they can't remember? I've experienced this before, when digging in with a client on their past experiences, and they say, I really can't remember. Like, I don't remember a circumstance where I felt this way, or I don't remember having any traumas or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
Well, trauma is a big word, and most people think trauma is a rape or, a major accident when you're young. That's what most people think trauma is. When they hear the 10 traumas and they're broken down like this, they're like, yes, I can remember mom and dad fighting all the time. Or when mom drank too much, I had to step up and make sure the house was clean and take care of my siblings. I became the parent in a lot of ways. That's a people pleaser as an adult. So we break it all down. I have all kinds of assessments that I dig really, really deep with in module 1 of my program. And I get the answers that we're looking for. And then we're both watching, and then it comes up. The VIP program I work with people is 6 months. And then I have an online program at the Life and Love Training Academy, my online training center, and that's a 3-month program. But we dive very, very deep into this so you really understand it and you start healing from it.
Gotcha. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to ask you a question, a personal question. Okay. And, one thing that I hear in what you're telling us is that you've done the research, and it's super cool. Like, just all of the list of traumas and really digging into how the brain works and all of that. How do you balance out for yourself the heady research and your intuition?
How do I research into my intuition?
No. How do you balance out the two of those? Because I see them as different. So sort of the research aspect to me is very heady. It's very, using our intelligence and our brain. And then the intuition is more sort of like inner. It's physical, it's in your body. It's sort of like that gut reaction. How do you balance those two in your own life?
Well, I've always been a big learner. love to read, love to get answers to, especially around psychology. Like I said, I've been interested in this since I was a teenager. So when something occurred with me in my marriage that I couldn't understand the behavior of my husband and why he did what he did, I needed answers. And the more I looked into it, the more I found this was affecting so many of my clients that I kept going with it. And Love Beyond Your Dreams has over 200 sources cut in there. So it's my own fascination for the answers and to really, be the best I can be. And I look at it as my obligation. It is my passion, my mission to help people overcome anxiety, depression, sadness, and be the best they can be. And I've been doing it for years. I used to be a model and talent agent and had a school. So I used to teach people to perform and be the best they could be. So this has been something I've been doing my whole life, but now it's just deeper psychology. So myself and my clients, we all wake up to 3 goals a day. Part of our daily routine is meditation because it's proven in quantum physics and science that the meditation that I teach lowers anxiety, depression, cortisol level, which is your fight or flight response that keeps you anxious, and blood pressure, and increases dopamine and serotonin levels of the brain. Trauma research has showed meditation as being extremely essential to rewiring the brain after trauma. So this is a big part of my program. And then we have 3 goals a day. And, I look at everybody's goals in life and in love, and we have a plan. I mean, that's module 2 of my program, to make sure we are looking at your ideal life, how you want it to be, and what we need to do to get you there. So we live a very consciously aware life. So everything is worked in, from our exercise routine to our meditation to our date time, our time with our kids. And I do what I teach. So I guess that's the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. We live a conscious life. So we learn to listen to our intuition as well. My program is it's spiritually based as well. So part of meditation is listening to the answers that come up from within when our mind and our body is at a calm and peaceful, blissful state. And we call this our best self. Our evolved spiritual self is our highest and best self. So during meditation, the 4th part of it is a question. And I ask God, what do you want me to know? It could be higher power, dear divine, what do you want me to know? And you sit and you listen. And I can't tell you, Kelly, how many times this has worked for me in giving me guidelines and do this, like even Love Beyond Your Dreams, write the book that's going to help you and so many others. Then I heard, write the book, it's going to be a bestseller. And I finally said, because I just wrote Live Beyond Your Dreams, which is about the powerful mindset for success. And I wasn't ready to write another book, but it just flowed through me and it became such a powerful book. And another time, the house I'm sitting in, I absolutely love. And I put an offer and they say, no, it's sold. There's no way you're going to get this house. And a month and a half later, I heard in question 4, call the realtor, the house is yours. And the buyer backed out the night before, and I'm sitting in my dream house when I really wanted.
I love it.
So I have learned to listen to my inner voice over and over again.
Well, and the reason that I asked that question is because I think it's so important to have both. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in finding the answers outside. Mm-hmm. Going to Google or asking the quote unquote experts, when we have so many answers inside of us. But we have to have that daily practice. Yes. We have to be conscious, like you said, every day be making the unconscious conscious, so we can be in that place where we can access that wisdom.
Right. And a lot of people say, well, how do I do that? And that's what I wrote in a 200-page workbook and my 2 books. It is a definite program based on all my research that helps you really become very calm and assured with your conscious thinking. And when an emotional trigger comes up, you're analyzing, okay, this came from me feeling this way around my dad. I know why it's here. I'm going to apologize to my partner, tell him, I had a weak moment and apologize for it, and do the head work, do the mindset work that you need to get beyond that moment, but the moments soon disappear. Like when people start, I've got letters after letters on my website from people who have changed so dramatically in both life and love. That's why I love what I do, because once they get this, I describe it like a rainbow. You're at the one end, which is the beginning of the learning curve. And as you're starting to go over the rainbow, you'll do well, then you'll slip. You'll do well, then you'll slip, because we are changing years and years of programming. But once you're on the other side and you totally get it, it is like a pot of gold. Like it changes your life forever. So the great thing is, you invest 6 months of learning this and you have it for the rest of your life. It's super, super powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, it's this idea of staying in that daily practice of knowing that this is part of living, truly living, feeling that vibrancy, feeling that aliveness that we all want to feel, feeling like we are following our passion each and every day. And it takes that deep work in order to be able to kind of come out from that.
Right.
And be who you can be.
But it's so fascinating. Once they get it, we don't even consider it work. It's just who we are. It's just our way of being. We are just conscious people. And we wish more were in the world. There's maybe like 4% conscious human beings out there. But you're always thinking, is these words, actions, or deeds hurting me or anyone else? Is it for the good of all? And I say that a lot. Is it for the good of all, which is a higher spiritual concept, And then there's the 4 questions people ask. Will this choice or action hurt me in any way, hurt the one I love, hurt my children or extended family, or hurt my reputation on the job or in the community? And if in doubt, go without. Don't do it. So these are small, conscious little tools, but added up over 6 months, you have a whole new way of thinking, which we call our mindset. So the unconscious becomes a conscious mindset for power, success, love, peace. It's amazing. Like I had somebody just last week, this really tough ex-professional hockey player who goes, "Oh my gosh, you have such an amazing aura around you." And I said, "You know about auras?" And he goes, "Your energy is just amazing." And I heard that again last night. I sponsored a women's event, and 2 ladies sitting there talking to me. They said, like, "Your energy is amazing. Like, where do you get that?" And it's just our way of being. Yeah. It's just our conscious way of being. And I know, Kelly, you're into this, so you understand what I'm talking about when it comes to that.
Oh my gosh, totally. And it's also my life's work as well, to really empower women in particular to dig in, to be willing to go back and face those childhood traumas, to figure out what's keeping you stuck. Because I believe this so fully, when women step into their power, they change the world.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need right now.
Absolutely, for sure.
So, Riana, why don't you take a moment and tell my listeners where they can find you? And I know that you have some free gifts for them as well.
I do. If this resonates with you, please reach out to me. I am offering a free Life and Love Transformation Strategy session. It's 1 hour meeting with me on Skype, and we go over the childhood traumas that you identified, what you're struggling with. So it's very personal. It's one-on-one. All you need to do is to apply for that is go to my website. It's rianamilne.com, RianaMilne.com. There will be a pop-up window and it says apply for the session. Tell me your story. It comes directly to me. Nobody else sees my emails. It's very private. And I will reach out to you and we'll set up an appointment. And that's a $500 value for singles and a $1,000 value for couples. And there's also free downloads of both my 5-star rated books, Live and Love Beyond Your Dreams. And that's right on the homepage of rianamilne.com.
Fantastic. And we will link to all of those things in the show notes, or you can get it right in your podcast app, whatever you're listening to.
Great.
So, Riana, I always like to ask my guests one last question, and that is, in your life right now, what is your inner voice asking of you?
am so driven, Kelly, by getting this message out to the world. So first of all, again, thank you for hosting me. And I really want to wish all the listeners to take action. You know, the time is so short. It's time really for you to have the life you desire and the love you deserve. So take profound action. Do yourself that favor. And, you know, I wish everybody an amazing, beautiful day and a life that they're so full of joy and passion. And that's what it should feel like every day, to be a part of some mission that lights you up and sets you on fire. So If I can help you feel that way, I am here for you.
Fantastic. So Riana, I just want to honor you. I love your energy. I feel it too. I love the passion with which you approach your research and listening to your intuition. And thank you so much for being here on In Her Voice to share this with my listeners today.
Thank you, Kelly. Have an amazing day.
I love that so much. Make the unconscious conscious. That should be like our motto, you guys, because when we start doing that, that's when we really start living. That's when we start to understand that we get to choose what we believe to be true about who we are, about the experiences that we're having. All of a sudden, when we make the unconscious conscious, we are in the driver's seat. We are making the calls. And that is such an empowering place to be. And whether your struggle is in relationships, or whether it is in getting your business off the ground, or whether it is getting clarity around your vision, or taking action on that vision, whatever it is, digging into what is keeping you stuck is the key. That is the key to moving forward, and then to create a practice around that. So daily you are understanding who you really are. Who is the core of you? And that goes back to the worthy piece that I always talk about. You guys know how much I love to talk about how you are worthy, but you are. And getting back to that piece of you that is inside of you, that is the way to truly live. And that's what I want for you guys. So as always, if this episode resonated with you, if there was even just one takeaway that you thought, yes, that is something that I'm going to put into my life right now, I'm going to put that into action, can you please let me know? It means so much to me when you guys reach out to me on Instagram, or when you shoot me an email and say, hey, I loved this episode. I loved this interview. Or can you talk about this? Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling after you listen to these episodes. You can always reach me on Instagram. I'm at Kelly J. Covert. And I totally love it over there. And like, I'm not kidding you guys. There is nothing that makes my day more than opening up Instagram and seeing that little red circle that says, I have messages from you guys. That makes me super happy. And you can leave me messages by watching on my stories, or shoot me a direct message, or just comment on any of my posts and let me know how you're doing and what you're working through right now. And of course, you can always email me at kelly@kellycovert.com. That's super easy. It's Kelly with a Y at kellycovert.com. And I respond to each and every email that comes my way personally. So I really hope to be hearing from you guys soon. As always, I want to remind you that you matter. You make a difference in this world, and we need you. We need you stepping into all of who you can be, really showing up in the world with your unique gifts and your talents, and saying, I'm here and I'm ready and I am worthy. You are worthy.